we stand here in defiance. We the makers.
Sound of off.
Yeah.
Hello.
No, he'll just this week. He is dealing. He is spending time at a baseball game today with significant other, Mr. Don East. No doubt. Apparently apparently they haven't seen each other in a year and a half. That's COVID lockdowns are a serious business. Mm. Mm.
Anything other than a body pillow?
All right.
I know.
So maybe we should get on with the show before this gets on off the rails anymore.
Also, I don't know if you heard me when I sounded off, because ironically I had my sound off.
10 out of 10. I'll go start the boiling water for turtle soup.
I would like this. I mean, it's like, we're leading off with Mitch McConnell because, a couple of days ago he didn't, he's just kind of given up with any sort of pretenses at this point, because, he's pretty much stated his evil plans if he gets power back in 2022. It's like
when you say it's kind of sad, but we are currently in the situation where one guy has said, "I'm never going to work with the other guy," and the other and everybody else is saying, "Hey, second guy, why don't you try to work with first guy?"
Right. Well, this isn't what we're talking about here. We are talking about because they don't have an obstructionist edge in terms of judges. And if nothing else, the Dems have learned from the Republicans in that regard. They've been confirming judges as fast as they can. And that gets to the particular subject of the moment. And that is Mitch McConnell is, he used the words highly unlikely, but that means zero fucking chance. The long and short of it is, if Mitch McConnell and the Republicans get power in 2023, don't expect a Dem. If there's another Supreme Court nominee, they won't be voted on. he's basically spelled it out. The Republicans aren't going to seat a Dem president picked nominee. And there's no Biden rule or will of the people bullshit that's going on this time around. Mitch is just saying, no, we're not going to do that because he's picked by a Dem. And yeah. So
well, I mean, they've laid the groundwork for this because everybody believes that the election was stolen, and
this isn't about the election.
Huh?
No, this isn't about the this isn't about the election or anything like that. This is about the fact that they were able to do it last time with Merrick Garland, and nobody really could stop them or do anything about it.
Yeah, but so, I imagine to a lot of their audience, because they were picked by a Dem, seems like a legit reason. Additionally, because the Dems stole the election.
It's beside the point.
Uh-huh.
It's beside the point because, this falls squarely onto Breyer, who is 83 years old at this point, and I'm not sure how you pressure a Supreme Court justice to resign, because what we're looking at here is a repeat of the Ruth Bader Ginsburg situation. You can, I know Kevin has preached about, it was always Ruth Bader Ginsburg's choice to retire whenever she wanted to, but, the situation, and it's also, it would be nice if the Dems can win every election, but, okay, let's get practical here. There is a pretty sizable chance that the Republicans win back either or both chambers of Congress in 2022. And, it's like, if that happens, then we're in, the same fucking situation, or, a combination of what happened beforehand. Like, it's not a good situation because, we've already got a conservative majority. It's like that would tick it up to 7-2. So the question is, does Breyer retire? I'm like, and the answer I can give is maybe. Right now the issue is that the Supreme Court term is still going on. And by the way, you should probably start paying attention to that because we're in mid-June, so that means the most contentious cases that are the most politically divided, with the biggest impacts, are going to be rolling out here any day now. Like, I know they've got some cases coming tomorrow. How long this will go, I believe there are 18 more, but as far as Breyer's retirement, we'll see what happens after things end. But yeah, I personally think he does need to retire because he's old. And
the problem is, if he does retire, who's going to replace him?
Well, there's time to figure that out.
Yeah, no, I know. I didn't mean it as like an honest who's going to replace him question so much as a question about whether the person who replaces him has any possibility of being,
Oh no,
progressive in any kind of way.
Well, there's a possibility. Looking at who Biden has recommended to the bench so far has been pretty intriguing. Not just
so they are actually trying.
Not they are, and not just in the traditional quote unquote diverse, like for example, we just got the first like Muslim circuit court judge or something like that here, but I think more important than the whole skin color, women minority recommendation is the law diversity.
Yeah, like,
where
are they civil rights lawyers? Are they any of the other kinds that are
public
good for-
defenders? Yes,
Yeah.
we are getting these people. That is important because the nominees for the federal courts, not just Supreme Court, but the district court, the Court of Appeals, all that sort of thing, they've been skewed towards the prosecutor's side of the desk, and that's kind of where some problems arose. So this is good. Like, it's not just a thing that's been stated, and like the Biden administration has actually been putting up. They put up as many like women of color in 4 months than Trump did in 4 years.
Mhm.
Granted, shooting above the diversity shown by the Trump administration is a very low bar.
Mhm.
Point is, the Supreme Court nominee could be very well someone of a progressive field. What kind of progressive? I wouldn't expect a. How do I put? I wouldn't expect someone who aligns with AOC or Bernie Sanders. I would someone who's more, from the public defender's office, or someone, a black woman who runs in the district court system, or something like that. Like, but as far as will it happen, we don't know. And right now, I don't think there's a lot of pressure one way or the other. But I do think a lot of that is because focus is elsewhere, and it's because the Supreme Court term is in session. It's like even the progressives who want him to retire, want him to retire after the session is over. Anyway, it's a thing to wait and see. And yeah, let's see what else is going in the world. Biden has made his first European trip as president this week, and today was the big Russia summit with Putin. Let's see, quite a bit to unpack here. And it's one of those, what a difference not having a buffoon for a fucking leader makes. Well, it's like Biden has been welcomed with open arms with the international community because, he is a functional adult who, but it's more than that. Like, Biden knows international diplomacy, even if like a lot of people online don't.
I know.
For example, like an example of this is Biden was calling out Russia for interfering with elections, and he made the statement, about, what do you do about a country that interferes with election and everybody knows it? It diminishes people within the world. I think you can see where this is going, but if you don't, there's been a lot of online commentary about, the fact that the United States has meddled indirectly or directly in a lot of elections over the years.
Specifically in South American countries.
Yes. As recently as allegedly in 2019. Now, okay, so I'm not defending his comments because, it's bullshit. In terms of, we have interfered with elections. No question. But do you think the President of the United States is going to flat out state that we interfered in elections?
No.
Yeah, it's like, especially on the international stage. Like, it's like, okay, forget like our foreign adversaries, our fucking domestic adversaries would eat Biden alive for that kind of commentary.
Even though, yes, probably everyone does it.
Right. And us, I won't say more than other countries because, when it comes to great meddlers in elections and politics, the Russians were right there with us. That was kind of the Cold War. If we weren't fucking meddling, the Russians usually were. Once again, not defending, but that was the politics of the era. Very rarely did you have somebody sitting on actual sidelines. But, Biden is trying to strike a position in regards to Russia and specifically interfering in our elections.
Uh-huh.
And he's not going to be able to do...
Central America doesn't count or whatever.
Right. For the purposes of this discussion, they don't count. And that is unfortunate, but it's also kind of how international diplomacy goes, especially when you're at a thing called the G7. Note that's like the big, like the 7 biggest economies.
Formerly known as the G8 before Russia got kicked out, which I'm sure they're just thrilled about.
So like
Not
it's
that it was a G8 for long, but
it's probably a bit more specific in terms of interfering with the elections of major powers. Like we typically don't meddle in the elections of, say, France or the UK.
Well, we don't admit it.
No, but there's less cause to actually interfere in those elections. What's the gain here? The reason why we usually interfere with elections in other countries is, because they back the wrong stance or guy or political ideology.
Mm-hmm.
And they are much more open to manipulation in various regards than, a power that can stand on, let's say, more equal footing. Once again, I'm not defending any of this. I'm just saying this is how it worked or how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And we've probably meddled in Russian affairs, and like one of the big takeaways from today was, it's like you come with us with the cyber attacks, we're going to respond in kind. Like, Also note to the White House press corps, can you start hiring competent people? I know 4 years of Trump has done a number to your ranks, but, getting incredulous because Biden called you out on your own bullshit, or one of your members on your bullshit and rushing to defend them is not good. It's like, bullshit question, something that he didn't say, and he's, and he calls you on it, and you're getting all huffy. Because, yeah, one meeting isn't going to change the world. But, Biden also has to take Russia as a serious threat. Probably one of the biggest mistakes Obama did was, underestimating Russia. But yeah, overall it seemed to be a fruitful trip. And this is kind of why I've always shaken my head at the whole Trump has ruined our reputation for generations. Because I'm like,
people to some extent get used to the changes of power. It's not it's not. I mean, if he had gotten elected for a second term, or had managed to pass legislation that would allow him to get elected for a third term, which he would have if, or at least tried,
right?
Then that would have severely damaged America's thing. But 4 years is forgivable.
Well,
even Putin was kind of out of power for 4 years.
Well, yeah, it's also things move quickly. It's like, and you can, our allies can never trust us again. Like, you can't really act that way because you don't know what the next election will bring, but you can't operate on the premise that a madman will be elected every 4 years. Just not how it works.
Yeah, ideally that's how it will work.
Yeah, it's like obviously there's always the concern, but it's part of the problem with having, and yes, I know what's going on right now, but bear with me. But, we do have free and fair elections, with the caveat of I know what the Republicans are doing in terms of voter restrictions. But that's not the same thing as, having outright rigged elections.
Yeah, like Russia, where you could literally throw it in jail.
Do you vote for Vladimir Putin? Yes, absolutely. Wonderful.
Yeah, because, voter registration restrictions and shit like that, you can work around that.
I mean, it's a little inconvenient, but you can work around it.
Yeah, that's important to keep in mind. And that's another reason why just being defeated on fucking HR1 is okay, isn't the end of fucking democracy. Because at the end of the day, you've got to get out there and fucking vote. If you haven't learned this and, are upset at the present situation, well, you know how you fix that? It's not by giving fucking Mitch McConnell the Senate back. Mm-hmm. Good God.
Like, no matter what they do, they can't stop everybody from completely voting. You can still vote. You just have to go through some more hoops.
And the way to make Joe Manchin irrelevant isn't to put Republicans back into power. It's to give us a larger Democratic majority. So if Joe Manchin doesn't like something, he can go sit in the fucking corner. Mm-hmm. That's the problem we face with Joe Manchin right now. Yeah. Yeah. He probably does.
Most of Congress does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's not forget that Joe. Yeah. Let's not forget Joe Manchin is what, in his 70s? Like maybe 60s? Like maybe he's not like Ben Sasse old, but yeah. Yeah, and that's not an uncommon age. Like,
Yeah, because people go to Congress to fucking work there for life.
no, Chuck Grassley.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who I'm thinking of. Yeah, he's the guy I'm thinking of. Yes.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like, but at the end of the day, like, unfortunately, if Joe Manchin wants something or doesn't want something, we have to fucking listen. I don't want to listen, but he's that important 50th vote. Yeah. Even putting away the filibuster stuff, we have, even if that goes away, you need him on board. You need Cinema on board with shit, or you don't have a majority at all. And that's kind of how you need that to get anything fucking passed. And that's important because putting away everything else, we still got infrastructure going on here, and apparently, the Dems are now taking a two-pronged approach.
Where they're trying to get one thing done and also setting up something to go if that doesn't.
More like they're splitting the difference. That is to say that they're working with Republicans on a traditional infrastructure package, but they're also working on like climate stuff and stuff that wouldn't be in this one. That's being primed for reconciliation, apparently. At least that's where things are at this particular moment in time. Keep in mind, all of this is, all of the infrastructure talks are very fluid, but like there does seem to be an actual deal for infrastructure in sight. I know Kevin hasn't been the biggest fan of these negotiations, but as I told him, these are actual negotiations and not a republic. These aren't bad faith talks to get the Dems to where they need to be on reconciliation. No, like it or hate it, and I know a lot of people hate it, the Dems are operating in good faith for bipartisanship. The Dems just operate differently than Republicans. I can't emphasize that enough. They're not the same. And if you think that they're like, in fact, like a lot of the online frustration is because, the Democrats aren't acting like Republicans you agree with. They're not exercising raw power moves to do or not do things. And I know that frustrates a lot of people online. And it's just, once again, Dems don't operate that way. And there are several reasons for that. But anyway, as far as infrastructure, apparently, like, they are narrowing in on a $1.2 trillion package, which is a lot more.
It's a couple of digits more than the Republicans ever offered.
Well, that's apparently what they've been hammering out. This is what I've seen anyway. Like, I think about $500 million in new spending. Quite a bit for trains. Like, wonder how that got in there. Like,
hey, trains are one of the things that would actually significantly help in this country.
Well, it's also Biden is a big proponent of Amtrak.
Yeah. No, I know that.
Well, other people might not. Even though, like, it is one of his secrets, since that's kind of how he got to Congress. Via that Northeast corridor. But yeah. Also, there's apparently been a breakthrough on the policing bill. We'll see what exactly that is. And circling back to Manchin again, once again, if you're tired of hearing about him, we're tired of talking about him, but, I can't emphasize it enough. He's going to be relevant until midterms 2022. And he's put out his fucking civil voter, the voting rights package that he wants, which is not awful, all things considered. Let me see if I can't find the thing, but it doesn't do some things that are in HR1, and it does down on some controversial things like voter ID. But there are things like ending gerrymandering, making Election Day a federal holiday, which I know is a thing that's been called for ages, and would really help, because a lot of problems with voting is because it happens on a Tuesday. So, now as far as will it pass, probably not, because he's still steadfast on that filibuster currently. So,
which, I get the idea, but
yeah, I'm sure we'll come back to this again and again and again for the next year and a half. None of us want to, but it's a thing. Anyway, I suppose we should shift to entertainment news. And so, okay, I didn't think we'd ever be talking about this, but I'm like, I've gotten so many fucking notifications about it. Major outlets are talking about this, and I didn't think we'd ever have to be talking about Batman's proclivities towards oral sex, but here we are. Yeah. Well, it's not just that, it's
because they sell kids' toys of Batman.
Yeah, I'm like,
No, but that was their literal reasoning. And they phrased it about the worst way possible when they said heroes don't do that. What they should have said is because he's a children's character. I don't fucking know.
Oh, he's not wrong. This is the.
I'm not saying it was right. It's really fucking stupid. I'm just saying
No. The Harley Quinn personage called the exact out, basically, quote unquote. So Batman's a selfish lover, and he's like, no, it's just heroes don't do that. Yeah, I'm like, apparently Batman is DJ Khaled. Oh. Well, I mean, once the internet got a hold of it, it's been an adventure.
Yeah, we'll
Like,
go with adventure.
a very hilarious adventure. I mean, you know, obviously there's been a lot of the not safe for work, retorts, but I've seen the more comedic and the more pissed off. Because, yeah, to say that this response didn't go down well, phrasing. I mean, like I said, I didn't think we would ever be talking about, does Batman give head? But here we are. We are.
You mean the one that isn't white?
Yeah. She's brown skinned. Remember? Yeah. They've had, not. Yeah. I mean, didn't they have a child in some timelines or something like that? Isn't that where Damian Wayne comes from?
No, Damian Wayne is Talia al Ghul's son.
Oh, that's right. I'm thinking of. Yeah, some. Yeah. Yeah. As the, yeah.
And on such stupid grounds, yes.
Yeah, let's be honest about what was actually going on here. It's because that particular exec and probably more of them were just disgusted by the idea of Batman going down on a woman. That's the long and short of it. Well, they were probably.
I imagine a gentleman would ask.
I imagine if he did have if he has the cowl on, on the one hand he can't move his neck, but on the other hand he does have the handlebars. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's just, it's just, we, and it's not just a thing I've seen on Twitter. I got news alerts from fucking CNN, Fox News for some reason. I don't know how that got into there. Entertainment Weekly, all of them have been reporting on this. I'm like, this turned into a major news story.
Riot Newsday much?
I guess so. I guess when you're not under the daily anxiety of the orange ham, you have time to discuss, the sexual positionings of one of the most beloved heroic icons ever. Good God. I mean, I think this also depends on the version. I could believe the Zack Snyder version of yeah. I think him doing it with the lights on is what's considered to be kinky. I mean, given how much alpha male shit is in a Zack Snyder film, not much, if any. Oh, like, and for the record, Adam West version totally would. Like,
Well, yeah, he's all about doing the right thing.
you know. Plus, he sided with hippies. I don't forget this. You know. Plus, the actual Adam West got kicked out of an orgy once. Now, along with Frank Gorshin. Now, I mean, her name is Catwoman. Like, really? Right. Oh. I just saw so much DJ Khaled stuff. Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that one. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Like I said, if nothing else, this has been quite hilarious. I'm like, yeah, people have opinions on this. Very, very funny ones. Oh.
You know those memes that are like superheroes having Facebook messages with each other? I saw one of those that was Batman like angrily refuting this, and the Flash responded, "Well, I don't know. At least people are taking taking the heat off me for how quick I finish." And then there were a couple other things, and at the very bottom is Captain Marvel, aka Shazam, saying, "Boy, it sure is nice. We're all adults here. Would be a pretty inappropriate conversation to have in front of a child."
Yeah. Indeed, it would. Oh. And I gotta wonder now that this is all out of the bag, so to speak, if the Harley Quinn out of the box, I guess. Yeah, I'm like, anyway, maybe the Harley Quinn show can do, a scene with Batman and Catwoman in season 4. It might be a bit late for season 3. I mean, season 3 is going to be upcoming here, and Ivy and Harley are a couple now. So, I'm going to imagine that those two, engage in the giving. I know twice, but I'm just saying, anyway. Yeah. Anyway, in other entertainment news and much more serious entertainment news, Netflix had their Geek Week last week, and there was a lot of announcements. I'm like, kind of hard to know where to start. I guess Masters of the Universe Revelation, which yeah, yeah. I'm like, yeah. So this is apparently going to be a sequel to the '80s series, although I'm not sure if it's going to remember that the new Adventures of He-Man took place. I mean, with Kevin Smith, there's a good chance that it remembers the '90s series, even if nobody else does, because that's kind of how Kevin Smith works. Yeah, that one. It sounds about right. I'm like, but once again, like you wouldn't most people won't remember that. Like Kevin Smith's attached to this. He's the kind of geek who would remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, he's the kind of geek who would remember that the 2002 show happened, even though that's an alternate continuity. Oh yeah. Only that one didn't go south in the second half. Like, look, like the Thundercats 2011 reboot just kind of went not good when Cheetah picked Tigra for reasons. Like, no, seriously, what was that about? Anyway. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. They turned it into a pretty unabashed Teen Titans Go clone and just didn't work. It took a while. Like, and sometimes it doesn't work, but and yet that's one of the reasons it got super popular. I don't understand it either, but I don't understand.
Getting super meta is better than nothing, which is what some people would argue.
I guess it's better than waffles. Anyway, moving onwards. Let's see. Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway. Yeah,
I'm
is
still
going.
kind of annoyed they went with just calling it Hathaway.
I'm like, well, we'll see how depressing this one gets.
It'll be pretty depressing. The overall story is known. The novels were written in the 90s.
Like, yeah, they're pretty infamous for how fucking depressing, even by Gundam standards. But yeah, this is coming July 1st. And this also explains why other Gundam not shows, but, like the Gundam movies, like the original Gundam trilogy and Char's Counterattack are showing up this month.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's see. Castlevania is getting they're calling it a spin-off, but it's really more of a sequel series.
Yeah, sequel. Yeah, they're splitting it off because of whatever it was with Warren Ellis, and also they wrapped up Trevor and Sypha, so now let's do another popular Belmont. And they're going with Richter, which is pretty far forward in the timeline, actually. Also, they're skipping I've heard some people complain that they're skipping Simon, and I guess shouldn't, but I'll tell you what Simon's story would be. Simon's story would be 2 to 4 episodes of him killing the shit out of everything in Dracula's castle, followed by a season or 2 of him trying to figure out what the fuck a graveyard duck is. Because Simon's Quest is a way better premise for a cartoon, for a series, than Castlevania 1 is.
Well, that's assuming they use Castlevania 1 and not say Castlevania 4.
It's the same thing. It's still just going through the castle, killing everything, no NPCs.
Right. And I guess they would get... like Simon... But... So, a weird thing with the Castlevania spin-off, as it's officially titled right now, is that Richter is going to be in the French Revolution. Which,
That is the correct years.
right, but that kind of throws off what the fucking PR is saying here, because Richter isn't his ancestor. Isn't
No, yeah, he's his great grandson.
No,
yes.
but here's the thing: in the Netflix thing, apparently he's the son.
They have
He
amended
isn't,
that because it was such an obvious goddamn error.
Yeah, he'll take
I should hope so.
It's literally 400 years in the future.
Yeah, I know this. It's just I'm like, wait, what? Like his son? Like, no, he's a distant, descendant.
Simon Belmont is Trevor's grandson.
Yes,
And then Richter is Simon's great grandson.
like we're skipping quite a few Belmonts here.
But yes, it is in that the French Revolution is the correct time period for Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night. Yeah. I don't know if they can choose to place it in France because I guess it's interesting that way. They never really got outside of the castle in either of those games, so it can be whatever.
Plus, Castlevania, if you will, Dracula's castle, can transport.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is rather a notable thing.
Yeah, so it being in France is, not outside the boundaries of anything. Like, and I'm personally, I'm glad that they're doing Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night.
Again, it has more other characters. It's a much better way to work with. Even in then, they're probably going to do one or two if they're short seasons of Rondo of Blood, and then the rest will be Symphony of the Night.
I mean,
everybody loves Alucard.
Yeah, I will give credit to the first Castlevania series. You made Curse of Darkness stuff interesting.
Yes.
That's no mean feat. Like, Hector and Isaac... Yeah. So are Hector and Isaac in that game. Like, they're two... Like, at least Isaac is... he was one of my favorite characters in the Castlevania series. Hector...
Yeah.
Yeah, he is, but they also did a good job of getting across that he's been through some shit and is just tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I don't think anyone was more tired in that series than Alucard.
No freaking kidding.
Well, Alucard was healing in a coma from a deadly wound for several years, or at least a couple years. Got woken up early by a moron. Had to kill his dad, and then had to live in his dead dad's home on top of the moron's old family estate for a year, learning to hate everybody before he finally gives up and decides that he has to be good because he can't stand knots.
I think that was the positive spin.
And the worst part is he kind of started to enjoy it. Well, they were definitely kind of setting him up with the female version of Grant Dynasty in season 4. So, which I will concede that I will concede that Grant Dynasty is a boring ass character, and making them female instead is probably at least something. Yeah, well, they changed it to Dynasty, which I think is an actual like tribal or regional name for the anime series. But yeah, it's Dynasty or whatever. I was giving them benefit of the doubt on it sounding like a real name. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Even though it's been like in several games. No, yeah, but even if you miss that, if you played any of the other games that have Sypha in them, she's more obviously female there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also in the Castlevania 64, even if that's not canon. Because it's weird. Belnadas is a corruption of Fernandez. It's really, I don't know how they came up with either. First off, I don't know how they came up with that Kana version for it being fucking Fernandez, because it's Vernamdes with a V and an M. I don't know where they got that. Anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing what they did with that, because the first one was pretty. The first 4 seasons were good. I really hope they get to that. Yes.
Indeed.
Yeah, and in an anime, they could actually make Julius Belmont as badass as he's apparently supposed to be, when he can fucking jump fucking 3 stories or whatever the shit. When he's old and amnesiac. I honestly don't know. I mean, there have been there were 2 games that took place after that, and they could like do okay. So after fucking Soma, who's Dracula next? Mm-hmm. Unless they decided to do more after that, which would be kind of weird.
I don't know. Let's see where the political meetings take place.
Yeah, there's still about one. Yeah, there's still about one natural resurrection every century, but he sure does get brought back early by either there been a war, or some guy decided they wanted Dracula back for reasons. Well, when it's 6 months, it's generally because someone who was involved in literally killing him last time didn't do it right, and he either wasn't completely dead, or in the most notable case of this, he cursed them as he was dying, so they need to capture all the bits and literally resurrect Dracula just to kill him again. Well, that do be a reason. And you don't want them to start eating you. Oh no, I'm not saying you should just feed them what you have around. You're absolutely legit in. Mhm. Well, you should fire tech. They sound like an unreliable worker. Well, no,
Yeah.
I meant I'm pretending you have a tech support guy. Uh,
Mhm.
mhm.
No, sorry, my internet just dropped. I'm using my phone currently, so yeah. Kevin should be back next week. So